Good morning. I am Samuel Trapp. This is International Flavor, and I'm coming to you live from the Lake Ozark Real Estate of the Art studio. Please feel free to phone in 573-746-8020 should you feel the urge. I want to continue on a topic that we've been covering the last couple of days. It's a long road. Very long road, and then we'll get to a second road because I've told you about the Missouri bar and a complaint I received from them. They are attempting to, I don't know what they're attempting to do, but I will answer. See, so the Missouri bar, one of their, not the Missouri, well, the Missouri bar is just a corrupt bunch of a-holes. That's what that is. I wish it was not, but it is. And they target particular people for destruction, and they take them out. And it's their board of governors, they like to call it, is really just a high school popularity contest, and that is how you get places in Missouri, because they are one of the most powerful organs of government, but they're really not government. They're completely independent. There is no oversight by anyone that will correct any of the things they are. They were created long ago by a Missouri Supreme Court order that created them. The OCDC, Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel, is also, but they are an arm of the Supreme Court of Missouri. But the Supreme Court doesn't supervise them. They don't do anything to OCDC. OCDC is completely independent. They can pick and choose which lawyers to go after and things like that. And it's pretty sad because if they choose to target somebody, the targeted has no backup. But if you know somebody in the bar, you can go to prison for 5 years for fraud and get it as a lawyer and come out and get your license back. But not Samuel Trapp. Hell no. Not Samuel. He has to wait a year and a half for his one-word response. One word. The Supreme Court of Missouri answers in one word. No. So I file 3 days later. And 3 days later, I file again. Same thing. The idiot OCDC guy didn't do a thing. For 2 years and 6 months, I waited for a one-word response from the Supreme Court of Missouri. No. No explanation. No why you can't have a license. No nothing. And that is the BS that I wish to attack daily. So, fast forward 11 freaking years since someone targeted me and took my license. 11 years. Fast forward. And here we are. Well, truly, it's only 10 and a half, I suppose. I remember the day. It was 2 days before my son's birthday, October the 14th of 2014. A newspaper calls me. A newspaper. No. They leaked the order about me getting done. They didn't even tell my attorney. They didn't tell me there was no published order. Allegedly, the other side didn't even know also. I'm yelling in the microphone. I'm sorry about that. I really am. I'll try to get back to normal. Okay, so let's talk like this. And but when I get pissed off, my voice gets raised and I yell. And I'm really sorry about that. But it's BS. It's complete horseshit what these guys did to me. Okay. And over the period that I lost my license, they sent letters to all my former clients asking them if they wanted money from me. The girl who, what was her name? Angela Sylvie stole my office, every stick of furniture, everything. Her husband was a former state rep, state senator. He's a piece of trash. I paid for them to hide their clandestine meetings from his ex-wife when he was married, and they were just screwing around on the side. And I took her to New York City, the whole time she's on the phone with him. And the cover story was because he would take her places. And at the lake, I was always their cover story, right? And I don't care. I don't give a crap what you do. Doesn't matter to me. But now we're fast forwarded here 11 years, right? So we're 11 years forward. And out of the blue, I get a letter several days ago about, from the Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel. So remember what they do to F you, to screw you forever. This is the pattern. This is how they screw you forever. And I'd be happy to discuss this with anyone on the bar. Let's have a bar person come on and argue and tell me why I'm wrong. I'd love to hear it. Let's have a Supreme Court person come on. I used to be really good friends with the Supreme Court clerk. He passed away. In fact, I had a relationship with his wife for a while. And but we were still halfway decent friends. He's a decent guy, and his wife was even better. But it's these type of things that piss me off to no end because they are lawless. I mean, they don't have to follow any real law, real procedure, zero oversight. They are bureaucrats, okay? And I intend to fully share the Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel's letter to me, which I'm responding to even now. I wrote most of it yesterday. It's due today that I have to give to them, and I will share it after I send it here on the program. And I have no problem with that. I'm an open book. I don't give a crap. I don't care anymore. We all know what the result is. I went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. They abdicated their responsibility, didn't even look at what I'm done. I'm completely right, and I'm okay with that. But being right doesn't always mean you win. Okay, and I am not wrong, and so I would be completely happy to sit down and discuss this with the powers that be. Maybe they've changed over time. Maybe they'll pull their heads out of their asses and fix this problem. It's a big problem. There ain't no reason on earth that I should not be an attorney. You know how many criminals are attorneys? A bunch. If you believe I'm a criminal, great. Let's assume all of these horrible things about me. Let's assume it. But why would you give me a broker's license in Florida and in Missouri? I had to have a hearing in Florida. I wish I had the transcript of it because it was pretty comical. At the end, one of the girls, so it's like a seven-man hearing committee or board of real estate, and they have these hearings. And in there are three attorneys general that sit on the side of the table and listen to the whole thing. And I believe the program is recorded. And I went down there. Because my license was suspended for the practice of law in Missouri, although afterward I was perfectly fine getting a broker's license in Missouri, which basically has the same ethical requirements and duties. That is one of the reasons I went to go get it, because I want to show the bullshit that comes here. That comes to pass, because it's just not right what they do to people. If they choose to screw you, they will. If you've kissed the ass of power, they won't. You'll be just fine all the way along. And that is the truth. People want to talk about the policy of truth. I even I did it for a week or so on my as a prelude to my show here. But I speak, like I say, all the time. You want to convince me I'm wrong? Come on the program, convince me I'm wrong. Send me somebody that says how they could do it, because by the time I'm finished, I will have them convinced that I am right. That's what I believe. And this is, and I am right. The system is bullshit, pardon my French, and they will not fix it. Why? Because it allows them to target people in the shadows and destroy them, which they've done to me. I was, I don't want to say, I suppose wealthy would be the term. In Russia, there's a term, it's called sidingami, with money. Sidingami means, деньги is money. And sidingami means a person who is He's not rich. He's not Bugatti. That's rich. But he is Sedingami. He's, he does fine. And before they targeted me, before Sam Phillips targeted me and told me personally to my face, I will make sure that you never practice law in the state of Missouri again. Well, he really made sure that I can't practice law anywhere because the Supreme Court does the same thing. This is bullshit what they did to me completely. And I'm giving you a nice prelude because I am going to share the letter that I received, the efforts that they're making, and that's the topic. But that will be a topic for tomorrow or the next day. Well, wait, today's Friday, isn't it? It'll be a topic for next week, and I will talk about it next week. I am. For those of you listening that like my international stuff, I am not abandoning that. I'm not jumping into personal. Ethical and legal and political issues of my person. But I believe it's very important that people understand this, especially in mid-Missouri. I still have my love and my hobby is keeping track of international affairs that the Trump administration currently is cocking up pretty badly, and keep track of what's going on in the rest of the world, how the rest of the world views us, and it's not very well, by the way. And I want to make sure that people understand that I am still international flavor, and the flavor is mostly international, and but there's certainly some political things that need to happen. Remember, you can email me at samuelt@internationalflavor.com. You can check out our websites at civicoutlaws.com. It's under development right now. It only has the lewdness, the ridiculousness of lewdness that Templeton and company are in the ATC are forcing upon the world. As we speak, they get to decide who's lewd, what's lewd, why they think lewd is important, which is completely crap. It's really quite the story. And by the way, remember, I don't have any concrete convictions on this one way or the other. I'm just telling you like it is. How do I want to put this? I like strip clubs, gentlemen's clubs. I like them. I have no. I'm not going to hide that. I don't care. I like to go there. I don't do anything weird. You go in there and you see a very attractive girl. I rarely go up to the stage. I've done it before. I pay for girls. For their, especially if they do something. How do I want to put it? It's entertaining, but I want to see something sensual. I don't want to see gross. I don't like that. I don't want to watch weird things and stuff. And I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but it's a big issue because there are a lot of people out there who think something horrible about places like that. I don't think that way. Never have. And it's probably because the ones I went to in my early life were so fantastic and so upper class. It's very, very, and seriously, if they strive to do it, why wouldn't a beautiful woman want to come and make a fortune, which they do, from guys that just like it, that appreciate them? Now, I don't want to see anything gross or nasty. I'm not for that. And you don't go to that place and find a prostitute. The most 95% or more of those women are just extremely attractive professional women that wish to make a good living, and they do. If you don't bother them with things like the ATC. So I'm really kind of on a rant this morning because my topics seem to flow, and I have a lot of drama in my life right now, and that's crap too. I even have some family drama. You wouldn't believe what the hell is going on there. I feel like I live in a shanty in I don't know, the outskirts of Brumley. I hate to make fun of Brumley, but it was always like, I'd make jokes about it, and you pick any Ozark city. This is a joke, okay? But you'd say, "Oh, is this the day they sharing the false teeth around?" You get one set of false teeth in the city, and this week they're sharing them around. He's got them. Anyway, I kind of make up stuff like that, but I don't mean anything by it. All right. Anyway, back to the topic with the Missouri bar and what they are doing. to me, I have to file a response. Yesterday I sat down and I looked at it, and one of my chief questions was, where in the world do you get the power after you take my license and destroy my life? And where do you get the power to come back 11 years later and quiz me? And the reason is this, because I still have a license, okay? And this is the screw job that they play in Missouri. And they're very good at it. They've been doing it forever. That's why Sam Phillips can come up to me and say, I'm going to make sure you never practice law in the state of Missouri again. That's how they do it. They know this exists. They also know that the lawyer who's being attacked doesn't. That he does not know, because it's a committee that they have in the Missouri bar that decides to screw people. And if they decide to screw you, trust me, you're screwed, because nobody will pay attention to you ever. Everything that I wrote in the Western District of Missouri when I sued them, their lawyers told my daughter I was a criminal. The bar lawyers told my daughter I'm a criminal, that I stole from my clients. That is not what happened. I have never, if that's the case, and it's pretty funny, and I only tell you that because now the OCDC sent me a request, and it's really something foolish. It's something completely stupid. The person who submitted it is a moron that suggested a path for me, and we've been researching it forever. It has resulted in the modern law ecosystem, and it has resulted in civic outlaws. And one of the guys who was going to help develop modern law ecosystem, it was his, it's pretty funny because it was his idea, and he wrote a complaint to the Missouri bar. And when I tell you who it is, eventually you're going to just go, oh my God, talk about drama. This is drama. And so if you, but fast forward, because Missouri bar idiots are sending letters going to me, and they're doing it because I still have a law license in Missouri. They still hold it. And the reason they hold it is to fuck me completely. And they have, and they know what they are doing. This is wrong. No doubt wrong. To destroy a man's life forever. You want to punish him for a bad act? I have no complaint with the 1-year suspension. That is, I'm totally fine with that. I get it. I fought it all the way to the Missouri Supreme Court. By the time that process was over, I was glad that I fought it. I was glad that it was done, and I was depressed that I lost, and I decided to move to Qatar for a year. Because I thought, well, the best way for me to combat this is to go to Qatar and move and get a job over there. So I did. By the way, Ramadan's coming up in February. I'm trying to get to Russia between now and February 28th when my visa expires, and I'm going to go through Doha. I'm going to Doha, Qatar, and I'm going to fly from there to Moscow, St. Petersburg, or wherever I wish to spend some very cold winter days in Russia, Mother Russia. And then that would be entertaining. It'll be very nice. And so, at any rate, I have to answer this complaint that they have given me, and they have kept jurisdiction over me by not disbarring me. I am not a disbarred attorney. Many people think that I am. I am a suspended for 1 year attorney with the right to reapply after 1 year. And I've applied twice after the year was gone. And the assholes at OCDC, or one asshole at OCDC, Sam Phillips, held it. He didn't do a freaking thing at all on my case. Nothing until he finally submitted a bullshit document that he could have done in several weeks. Now, imagine you are trying to get a broker's license, right, here in Missouri. I filed for a broker's license. You know when I got it? Immediately. I got it right there because they do a criminal record check. They check to see if you're a good person with a reputation in the community and blah, blah, blah. And they go search you, right? And at the end of that, they give you your license. It doesn't take long. They give you, so first they do a little mini investigation. It takes them, a week or something. And then they say, okay, you can take your broker's test. And you take the broker's test and you're done. When you get a law license in Missouri as a first timer, you can, you submit, they have people submit their applications during, they have four months. The deadline, they need 3-4 months. The deadline is so the bar is given twice a year, once in February, once in July, and they give you they do your investigation before that, right? And the investigation is done, and it's literally it's done pretty quickly anyway. And they finish it up and they send it to you and do the Missouri Supreme Court, and so you submit it to the Supreme Court, who regulates all the lawyers, and they bless you. They're, what's it called? Conference of Law Examiners or something like that, or I forget what it's called. NCBE, National Conference of Bar Examiners. I forget what it is. They that investigates you, does a test, stuff like that. And I had one pending because I was going to apply in Wyoming, and so I just paid for one to get done, and I opted not to because I'm going to fight Missouri, and I was planning on doing something again to submit to Missouri, and these assholes walked right in. I was determining how the hell. I even spoke to a lawyer about it already, and I was planning on trying to figure out and fight again this bullshit that they have done to me, and but nobody will be convinced. They're not wrong. These guys, their career. Now, if you think my complaints about regular bureaucrats like Kristen Templeton is harsh, you wait till I talk about the career a-holes that took a job in the bar or at OCDC. They did it specifically to fuck people. That's what they do. They go out, they pick and choose who they want to target, and they target them. It is not a standard process where everybody has to be reviewed every once in a while. And if you know somebody, if you are connected, trust me, nothing will happen to you. But if you're an easy target, like I was, then they take a very strong attack upon you, and you have no backing, no political backing, no money backing from the big money donors, stuff like that. You know what I mean? And they just destroy you. And they destroyed me, period. Sam Phillips is corrupt. Sam Phillips did this intentionally. He told me he was going to do it. He held my investigation the first time for 18 months. Tell me that any other license would wait 18 months to investigate somebody. Hell, they do terrorists in 2 or 3. You tell me you can't investigate me and find out the bullshit in my life, which there's plenty of, and quiz me upon it. You can't quiz me about that or justify it or not justify it or give me, Supreme Court, give me a fucking reason. Sorry for the swearing today, but this really pisses me off. And I am right. They are wrong. And so there you have it. I mean, I will shout the truth from the rooftops. This is bullshit, what you've done to me and what you've done to others. I'm not alone. This is how they destroy lives of people who might do what I'm doing, might talk. And I did talk. I fought the government in Missouri for years until, well, we're going to target that guy. We're going to take his license. And trust me, they did. And it was one guy can destroy your life. And I laughed at him when he told me that. I just laughed. Yeah, right. First of all, and nothing I have done is a disbarable offense. Nothing. If they disbarred me for what I did, it's complete bullshit. I've been disciplined. Here's my discipline, which has lasted 11 fucking years so far. My suspension, 11 years for what? Failure to communicate with a client. Every lawyer does that every fucking day. Pardon my French. They do it every day. Every day. And you could target anybody for that, and say, hey, geez, give me a list of all your clients, and phone up all the clients. Say, when's the last time you talked to your lawyer? Well, it was hard getting a hold of him. It's been whatever. Bing, let's punish them. Tell you what, you could find that on any lawyer. The second there were two counts of Samuel Trapp failed to communicate with the investigator. Who's the investigator? Sam Phillips. What did he want? Documents that didn't exist. He wanted me to create them. Tell me what happened on this day 3-4 years ago. I said, I don't have those. He said, you have to have them. Well, I don't. He said, you have to have them. Please provide them. You need to go back and create them and tell us what this is about. I wouldn't do it. I was like, screw you. As soon as I do that, you're going to come back and say that now I'm creating stuff that didn't exist and quiz me on a transaction that I'm telling you I don't know what it is. And I don't want to make it up. You can punish me for not knowing what it is. That I should know what it is, and I don't. But I'm not going to go create something so you can hang me on it. Not a question was asked about it in the hearing in the Supreme Court. Not a question was asked about it ever, except for Sam during the process asking me for some documents that didn't exist. And he didn't bring it up in the hearing. He didn't discuss it at all. We didn't defend it at all. We thought it was one that was just going to be, when there were 16 counts against me, they punished me for 4. They couldn't prove the other 12. And or maybe it's 15. I don't remember, but it was a big amount. And the biggest one was a property issue, which I didn't do, but Greg Williams did, and they punished him for that. But they didn't take his license. They gave him probation. He got probation, and he did the big deed. He did the bit, but he's connected. He knows people. I don't. Never did. Never cared about the political bullshit. Never. But I should have. And so, at any rate, the reason I'm telling this entire debacle is because of this new letter that came in. I have been fighting this horse shit for 11 years. And I really only 10 because the year of 2015, I lived in Qatar, and I loved it. It was great. I'm hoping to go back. There's a possibility that I might be doing something over there, something extremely interesting, and at least communications therefore. I believe it's time that Donald Trump did something about Russia, Mother Russia, and I don't mean about Russia. I mean about the war in Ukraine, the corrupt hellhole that is Ukraine. And, if that happens, I wish to have some financial interest in a couple of things going on in Russia and or in Qatar with Russians. They have there's a lot of people with a shitload, veritable shitload of money. Well, in Ukraine too, because we keep giving it to them. Hey, here's another $90 billion. Just kill another 100,000 men of yours. This is bullshit. We're paying for them to die. That's what we're doing. And now Europe is doing most of it, but we're paying for them to die. So. Like I said, fast forward to now when the Missouri bar has sent me some complaint saying that I am practicing law without a license. Anybody who knows me remotely that has asked me a question, I have people ask me legal questions all the time. And guess what I tell them? Every single time. Some people get tired of it because they've asked me several questions. Every time I say this, I'm not a lawyer. I don't play a lawyer on TV. I don't give legal advice. If you want legal advice, find a lawyer. I can recommend one or two should you like. Every single time I say that. If someone wants a lawyer, I don't have a lawyer. We have an organization, and we may have lawyers that are connected. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build an ecosystem of law, an ecosystem including research, development, AI structure. We are exploring AI and the structure of that in the legal sphere. If you're a lawyer and you want to know more about it, hell, give us a call. 573-347-7000 is the number. And we aren't quite up and running. We're developing the websites and all that, modernlawecosystem.com. You can also type in just Modern Law Eco. I bought both sites and .com, so maybe a short one, maybe a long one. They'll both go to the same place. It's a long name, but I like it, and I'm going to keep it. And the other one is Civic Outlaws, and that is our 501c3 charity. And we are, in this charity, we're going to do things like attack the government. We're going to do things like I talked about yesterday, which I will continue with today. But now I've given you the prep of the bar asinine, idiotic attack upon me. And the reason they hold your license in a suspended state, that's the preferred state for them now. And anything I've done, I would never be disbarred for. Well, if I did, it was clearly for targeting. But it's worse. I didn't know it, but what they've done to me is actually worse, because it allows bureaucrats like Sam who are completely unregulated. They are nothing, not regulated. Talk about the Chief Disciplinary Counsel, the top dog there. So Chief Disciplinary Counsel has, 7, 8, 10 maybe. I don't know the number. The number of attorneys that work there. Okay, because they can't make it on their own in the real world. They will go work there. And they like targeting people. They love being bureaucrats. And maybe I'm generalizing from only the Sam Phillips types, but why in the world would you work there anyway, except to destroy people? That's what you do. It'd be different if you were doing it to have a pure system and make sure that everybody was ethical. But no. Tell you what, this is a high school popularity club. Nothing but. And they want to be there. It's an easy job. They don't have to do anything. They just have to target lawyers. And so they solicit complaints. But only from lawyers they don't like. So they'll hear something and they don't like it. And that's what Sam Phillips did to me. But Sam Phillips' reason was because he asked me to help him get Greg Williams, provided evidence to me when I sued Greg Williams, provided evidence to me against Greg Williams. Okay, so that's how far these a-holes will go to destroy people. But they didn't destroy Greg Williams, and they could have. They destroyed me, and I believe they shouldn't have, because all I had were 4 counts that they got me on. 1, failure to communicate with a client. 2 and 3, both are failure to cooperate with Sam Phillips' asinine, stupid questions. And 4, this is the biggest one, potential intermingling of my funds with the lawyer's funds. And that's a joke and a half, because every single lawyer could, and I'm not, and well, let's, you know what? I have to qualify that. Any single non-governmental or big firm lawyer has done this. Because if you're in a big firm, you have 50 accountants doing all your stuff and you just pass off the money. So if you're a small attorney, usually, sometimes you don't even have an attorney. I was at the point where, an accountant, I was at the point where I probably should have had one and not done it on my own. And I didn't. And I should have. So that is probably the biggest F-up that I did. Okay, that's me. But those are the 4 things I was punished for. All of them, something another lawyer would have done and just got a tiny pat on the head, slap on the wrist. Oh, gee, we're real sorry about that. Let's have some brotherly love and let's help you do some training and fix you. Because, hell, if you're a drug addict, steal all your money out of your trust fund or trust account and run away to Zimbabwe, and they catch you 2 or 3 years later, you just blame it on drugs. If I had gone to the OCDC and started blubbering like a baby, I'm on drugs, I got a drug problem, and I got suddenly you are a pet. You're a pet that pet can, we help people. We've helped lawyers get past this drug addiction, and they'll give you your license right back. He didn't do anything. He had a drug problem. But if you don't have a drug problem, you don't have that excuse to get you off the hook. Well, that's Sam Trapp. He's different. He hates government. He hates bureaucracy. Therefore, he cannot. If you hate, and I don't want to say hate. I don't hate the bar. I'm very truthful about the bar. I'm very truthful about the high school musical sort of how they get people to join their little committees. They join the committees because they want to be connected. That's why they do it. Or they like power. They want to go. That's where the power is. Okay? And if you can get put there, and what happens is all the big-time lawyers around, they'll put one of their associates from their firm, they will call the bar and get them on a particular committee. Because if you get on one of their committees, you can be connected. I didn't want to do any of that. I didn't give a rip. The only time I tried to stay with the Missouri Bar was during training courses, because they had a nice annual training session for 3-4 days here at the lake at a nice resort. And you could go get your CLE done, rather all at one time. And you don't have to do it. But even then, I only did that every once in a while, because the Missouri Bar is a bunch of, there's some good teachers, but usually it's some blowhard sitting up there giving war stories about what he has done. And that's great. Let's talk about war stories. You want to come on my radio program, I'll be happy to talk about your war story. But the war story of we're going to take your license forever, Samuel Trapp, because you pissed off Sam Phillips, or Sam Phillips doesn't like you. Well, 11 years later, you can get it's interesting to me that I got the letter from another attorney in there. It's not Sam. I wonder if he retired. Hopefully so. Hopefully he's gone. But I doubt it. He's got to be up there finger puppeting, because he was pretty high up. He's like number 2 in the organization or something when he was dicking around with me, which was strange also. Tiny coffee break there. Sorry about that. And at any rate, I'm sorry to rant on this so much this morning, but I'm an open book. I have nothing to hide. Nothing. And it's... So the letter comes. The letter's bullshit. I look at the letter. The big point that I'm trying to make here in the end is jurisdiction. Okay, let us talk about jurisdiction. The way they keep Samuel Trapp from having any power anywhere in the country, is by suspending him. I cannot be a paralegal in many states. Not Missouri. I can be a paralegal in Missouri, but I've done the research. In many states. So I'm working for some lawyers in Florida, doing some consulting for lawyers in Florida, right? And I do research for them, sometimes a little bit of case management, sometimes a little bit of whatever, right? And so last year, I had been working with a client down there for a little while. And I forget his name. He's from Uzbekistan or something like that. And spoke Russian. It's pretty good deal. And so I'm consulting with these guys, and all I'm doing is sometimes calling insurance companies, sometimes putting the paperwork together. I never meet the client. I don't know who the client is. I'm working out of my room. I have it's just a small, I've worked for several firms, right? And all I would do was do their research and do their stuff, because I'm good at it. And I understand it. I'm a master researcher. I am good at it. And so I'm an excellent case manager, and I have to work. What am I going to do? It's like, you've destroyed my life, assholes. You've destroyed it. You won. I lost. And now I can never come back unless I admit that I stole, and I didn't. And so screw you. I'm not admitting it. Your process is bullshit. The way you've done it is also bullshit. I've talked about that plenty of times, and I'm going to talk about it here on this show. It's wrong what they're doing to me. It is absolutely wrong, and they've done it to others too. It's a bullshit system, and it is just wrong. And why is it a bullshit system? The real reason why is because the Supreme Court has a job to do, right? They have a job. They are taking care of big cases that come through. They have shuffled off, I suppose, but they have shunted the whole thing. I think that's the right word. Obviously, I'm illiterate in both English and Russian, so therefore, I can't come up with a word right now. But they have abdicated their responsibility to manage the OCDC process. They have abdicated. Now, they appointed somebody to run that place, okay? I believe he's appointed by the Supreme Court. The OCDC is an arm of the Supreme Court, but they're an independent arm. Why? Because they have to be. They have to be somewhat independent, because otherwise you have a conflict of interest. You have the Supreme Court, who regulates attorneys. That's bullshit too, by the way. The Supreme Court regulates the attorneys, and the Supreme Court is also the supervisor of Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel, right? But they don't supervise them. They just appoint some blowhard to go there and attack attorneys, right? So that's their job. And so they submit the papers to the Supreme Court, but They're appointed by the Supreme Court. They're blessed. Bless you. You may be a member of OCDC. That is a conflict. Okay. Should everything else, every other license in the state there's 42 of them. There was 10 years ago. And I remember that number. There's 42 different professions that require a license in Missouri. And those are administrative in nature. They are administrative. Administrative law rules apply. And the governor appoints the heads or appoints people on these boards. They have their own rules, but they're executive branch duties. Because who fulfills the law, who fulfills the statutes and regulations, that is the legislature. The legislature sends over law. It is signed by the governor, and now the governor executes what is in the law, except for the practice of law. So the legislature creates all the rules, creates all the statutes and regulations that every license has to follow. And so a broker gets a license from the governor, stamps it, says you get, it's actually truthfully, that's an executive branch item. So you get a license from there. If there's a dispute between the person receiving the license and the board of whatever, accountancy, doctors, whatever, that the board, whatever that board is, has decided to do something to that license, that person has the right to go to court, a real court. Okay, he can file suit in Cole County and can fight the law. And if somebody in that group got a one-word response, I go and apply for my broker's license, and I get a piece of paper that says, no, you don't get a license. And all it says is, no, we've decided you can't be a broker in Missouri. I can sue them in Cole County Circuit Court. And then I will get a ruling and most importantly, a judgment. A written judgment. He can't have a license because he's an evil perverter of innocent little boys, or he's robbed a bank while this was going on. And whatever, they actually discuss what is and is not ethical, and they make a judgment. And the judge who hears that case is going to be very careful in the writing of his judgment. So he will write a long judgment and make sure that if he's going against the board of whatever, board of accountancy, let's say, and he writes this judgment, he's going to be very careful because he knows that the board of accountancy is 90% certain to appeal whatever he says to the next level, and they'll go to the court in the Western Division, if it's Cole County, which I believe is near Kansas City, might be St. Joseph or something like that. And they will go to the appellate court, right? And the appellate court will review that judgment and will be very careful to make sure that it's that it's a consistent, that we have some consistency over the years in looking at this. If it's a new issue, they'll be even more careful, and they'll have a look at it and create law regarding. So an accountant can be certain, he can be aware of what is going on in the entire process, right? He can be aware of that because the judgment is very specific. We're not giving you a license because you're an evil perverter of innocent little boys, and evil perverters of innocent little boys cannot be accountants. We have decided that, and that is a particular judgment. And so let's say that Cole County Circuit Court judge said that in his judgment, and he, in the applicant to be an accountant, appealed that and said, wait a minute, I'm not an evil perverter of innocent little boys. I was 30 years ago, and I got arrested and convicted for that. But, geez, it's been 30 years. I'm a church pastor now. I've done this, I've done that, and here it is. And by the way, when I was in Florida at the board of brokers, because they made me have a hearing to get my license, I heard stories exactly like this. There was a guy who was charged with and convicted when he was in his early 20s. He was convicted of sex with a minor. It's one of those situations where he was over 18 and the girl was still in high school and they had a sexual relationship. He got charged. Dad wasn't happy. He got a crime. He pleaded guilty. He didn't fight it. He just pleaded guilty and moved on. So fast forward 20, 30 years later, he's an evil perverter of innocent little girls. And he still got a license. They said to him, well, we understand you had these things. And there was 4 or 5 people. Now, this is Florida. I'm not talking about Missouri on this one. But it's the same concept because they do the same thing. And a law, a status, what you have is created forever and ever. And so if they say this person, if the judgment says, well, this guy's an evil perverter of innocent little boys, but it happened in the last, this happened within the last 5 years. And we believe that it should be 10 years. You know, you need to have at least 10 years from the time you were an evil perverter of innocent little girls or boys. And so that is, they'll make a ruling. And that specific ruling gives an idea to a later applicant that they have to, after another perverter of innocent little boys or girls, that they have to wait 10 years. It's called case law. They have to wait 10 years. Maybe that's established. Let's say the guy said, even though it's 5, I think the judge said, even though it's only been 5 years, I'm going to approve him a license anyway. And the Attorney General or the Board of Accountancy, through the Attorney General, appeals that to the appellate court. The appellate court says, well, you know, the judge heard the case and the judge looked at this guy and he believes the guy's okay, so he gave an exception. But wait a minute, there's no such thing as exceptions in the prior case law. It said 10 years. And here's this jackoff getting his in like 6. That's nonsense because everybody has to wait 10. The floodgates are going to open, and now we're going to get all the evil perverters of innocent little boys applying after 5 years and not after 10. So the court in, the intermediate court, the appellate court, they rule that, no, 5 years is okay. We support the judge down below. The judge down below can make it 5 years, but it's still 10. But if the judge particularly likes the person in the hearing, he can do it. That's a rule. That is something you can work with going forward. So now the Supreme Court of Missouri, somebody else appeals it. Supreme Court of Missouri gets that, okay? And the Supreme Court of Missouri has done this millions of times. I'm going to switch what the guilt is. Well, I'll give you the quick one real fast. In the Missouri Supreme Court, they would either bless the appellate court, or they'd bless since they were the same, they could bless it and say, no, 5 years is okay. Or they could be dicks about it and say, well, even though now he's, donated $1 million to charity, he's, saved 50 children from destruction and poverty in Zimbabwe, and he's done a lot of positive things in his life, we still think the rule is 10 years. Come back in 3-4 years and apply again. Boom, you have law that you can look at. The only reason I told that incredibly long story is because in the Missouri bar and in the Supreme Court's documentation, the process is bullshit. You do not get a judgment. You do not get the Supreme Court analyzing Sam Trapp's case and saying, well, it's been 2.5 years since Sam Phillips started investigating Samuel Trapp. It took him 2.5 years to come up with the exact same document that he filed after 1.5 years. It's the same document, but both times the Supreme Court, abdicating responsibility, says just one word: no, no, no. That's it. Nope. You can't have a license. They don't. There is no analysis of anything that they would require in every other profession in the state of Missouri. That is the bullshit I am fighting. If they had written a lengthy judgment, and they do it, they write apologetic judgments. The apologetic judgments. There was a guy down in Springfield who never ever even had a trust account. He would take $50,000, $65,000, $70,000. I took one of his clients from him years ago, and she came in and said that he was going to charge her $50,000, and I said, well, I'll charge you $30,000. And she goes, well, I can't pay that. I said, well, then I can't work for you. Go hire this guy. And he would demand. She goes, well, the problem wasn't the 50. The problem was that he wanted it all immediately. I can give you 6 or 10 or something like that, and then I can pay you $1,000 a month. And if you know this case, I said, well, by the time the trial comes up, you got to have me paid all of that, everything. And the other lawyer that never got punished ever, the Supreme Court wrote an apologetic reason why they were giving him a license. So they'll write apologies and say, this guy can have a license because, geez, he's been around for 40 years. He's been doing good work, and he's never had a trust account, but perhaps the law has changed since that time, and they write this apologetic bullshit thing to justify giving this guy a license. Why? Because he was connected, okay? I'm not. And so therefore, you can just shunt Sam away and say, well, this guy's not connected. We can do with him what we want. We can give one-word judgments. We can let Sam Phillips destroy this man by soliciting complaints from every client and coaching them on what to do to screw Sam Trapp. And they've done it to other lawyers too. It's every year they have to have a poster child, that they from the state that they can claim that they're doing their job for the rest of the bar. Okay, because that's necessary. They need it, and they have to be able to keep us in line and to shut us up. Those of us who they dislike, well, they won't shut me up ever. And whether they give me a license or not, I think the way to shut me up is give me a license, because what you've done is incredibly wrong. What you've done is not correct. It is not. How do I want to put this? I live in America. I had an American dream, and bureaucracy has turned it into the American nightmare. I have known since I was 10 years old that I was going to be a lawyer. I busted my ass to get there. I was doing a pretty good job with my clients, and one asshole, one bureaucrat can destroy you. I've always been against government overreach. I did it in the Army. I questioned everything. I did it in my life when I was an HR director. I have always questioned things that I don't find to be correct, things that I think need to be, tailored, fixed, tweaked, however you want to put it. In general, and you know what? I probably should not label as a blanket everyone is just a part of this corrupt arm. But they sure turn their heads the other way in certain cases. You don't turn your head away from wrongdoing. You just don't. And, what they have done to me is wrong. And it's bureaucracy, and it's wrong. And so that is... We're going to continue on this topic because I do intend to share that letter. But right now I'm going to switch gears. We've done a little more than half of the program, and I'm going to switch gears. Yesterday I promised to share with you the ATC's nonsensical letter that was received last week. And it's pretty funny because I told you yesterday, I walked you through the Chevron doctrine. I walked you through the overturning of the Chevron doctrine by the Loper Bright decision, a Supreme Court of the United States. I walked you through the statute in the state of Missouri that codifies the overturning of the Chevron doctrine. The Chevron doctrine said that a court should defer or to the professional bureaucrat. So a bureaucrat who's been in office and screwed people and told them, you can't have a license ever, and I'll make sure you never practice law in the state of Missouri again. Those guys don't get to make, well, they do in the bar because the bar doesn't have any supervision anyway. But if it was in the executive branch, these people, this administrative agency, you can't control the Missouri bar. They don't even have to answer sunshine requests. I sent one. They've never even answered, ever. And I do plan to follow up on that because it's against the law. I should sue them, but they don't answer. But since it was about 4 or 5 months ago, I'll probably resend that and see if we can't do it again. You know what I mean? And I hope to do so. That'll be entertaining for us. We can talk some more about that. And so since I've switched gears and gone back to the ATC, yesterday we talked about her outlining the, what do we want to call this? I call it conspiracy. That's what I call it. And I believe it is. And I believe they conspired. A guy named Clayton Weems and a lady named Kristen Templeton. And now it could be that they're just dumb, that the bureaucrats are, the bureaucracy has gotten them so used to taking power that doesn't belong to them that, they have been allowed to do it forever. It could be because the Chevron doctrine and the effect of similar laws in the state of Missouri, because Missouri didn't change it either, kind of blessed the bureaucrat screwing people. Because the bureaucrat it'd be like hiring an engineer. You don't want an engineer out of high school. If you're building a bridge that's crossing a 5-mile structure or lake, and you want somebody who really knows what the hell they're doing, and you'd never hire somebody who's only done it for a month, right? You'd want somebody who's built one before, who's gone 30 years. And so understanding the Chevron doctrine, which basically said, well, we'd defer to the experts in bureaucracy who do stuff. Well, that's overturned. And I believe that's a direct result of the Trump issues overturning the Chevron doctrine, because now it's the Loper Bright doctrine. It's that says you, as a court, must review de novo, brand new case, any interpretation of a statute that is questioned by someone attacking an administrative agency. Now, skip the bar, because none of this applies to the bar. Nothing applies to the bar. Nothing applies to OCDC. One-word decisions by the Supreme Court are the way to keep lawyers in check. So lawyers aside, at least in Missouri, the cocked-up system in Missouri, this is how it works. But if you have a real administrative agency, not the Missouri Bar, who they apparently claim they don't have to answer sunshine requests because they're not a public entity, I presume, but they've never answered, and I've never filed suit against them. I might, because I need to. Anyway, I need some more coffee. Maybe I shouldn't drink coffee in the morning, because I've been on a rant like 3 days in a row, and I'm still ranting. At any rate, the conspiracy between Kristen Templeton and Clayton Weems is documented in her letter. And I told you yesterday, she wrote out that Clayton discovered a statute that has actually been in place since 2010, but current leadership team was completely unaware of. And in parentheses, we later learned that the then leadership was notified of the law taking effect, but believed that perhaps due to timing, in conjunction with mass layoffs, where they was never able to be incorporated into enforcement action. Well, it could be, Miss Templeton, that the prior administration, the prior leadership, or the then leadership, as you call it, it could be that they were correct. Now, this conspiracy of what they are doing is I use the term bootstrapping. I use the term sucking it into their zone of authority. So Clayton, that's Clayton Weems, discovered this law, and the law says something about sexually oriented businesses, but the sexually oriented business definition changed over time. And most importantly, the ATC has zero authority to enforce the 573 statutes. They can only enforce 311 and 407. So this is the path that we're watching her and Clayton take power. This is a bureaucrat taking power that doesn't belong to them. And so the legislature never gave it to them. There's no enabling statute. None. It doesn't say, gee, you can have power over 311 violations and 407 violations, and then you can suck in violations from other places, other criminal statutes. You can suck those in as your requirement with no hearing, no due process, no right to a jury, no proof necessary. None. The only proof is some investigator, some guy goes in, and you should read some of these because they're friggin' hilarious. So here's what the ATC does. They send in their investigators, men, and these men get lap dances. These men sit at the stage and then watch the girls and have them dance, give them dollars, drink a beer. They hang out there. They're having an evening party, right? They go they go back to a booth, and some girl dances with them. And then at the end, what do? So let's say the girl takes him back into a booth. You should read some of these. They're hilarious. And this is what I call entrapment, okay? So you go in, you get some guy to come into a strip club, and they do this. This is what they do. They bring them into a strip club or a gentleman's club or a cabaret, whatever you wish to call them, or whatever they eventually might unilaterally decide is right. They have someone come in, and this girl, let's say the girl takes him back into the little private booth room and dances with him, and while dancing she takes her top completely off, shows some nipples, no pasties, right? She takes it off because usually the girls are just wearing panties, and they're put pasties over their nips, and on they go. So the ATC sends in these clowns to go in and sit around and sit at the what do you call it, center stage, and watch the girls dance. And if they show a nipple, hell, they even give them money to throw them at and buy them some beer. This is a free night out for these jackoffs, and they get to go and take the girl in the back room and trap her. We don't know the conversation that goes on back there. We don't. I mean, why wouldn't they, or why couldn't they at that time proposition her? Would it be okay if they propositioned her and said, hey, if you meet me later, we can go back to my condo and we can, have an evening of it, and in return, I'll give you $200-$300. What do you say? What's to stop them from that? And if the girl accepts, what can they arrest her? No. They can't arrest her for that. You know what they can do? They can go back to they can call somebody to arrest her, but they don't have the power to arrest, okay? Because they're administrative. They may have post-certification. They're all law enforcement officers, but they're not a policeman. They're not a police department. So they can take this girl back and have her do the deed, dance for them. Then they walk out. They create a report, which they send back to the powerhouse of the ATC and say, well, look, while I was in there, I was able to walk out with a beer hidden in my jacket. Never should have been allowed to do that. I was able to see a girl dancing. They don't have to identify the girl. They don't have to do anything. There's no video. There's nothing. There's no evidence. And by the way, these are crimes I'm speaking of. They don't occur at most. Does a nipple occasionally get shown? Sure. I'm sure it does in every place. But are the girls instructed to wear pasties? They are. Is it against the law to show a nipple in there? Yes. And if a cop saw it that was on duty and saw the girl do that, he could arrest her, take her in, and charge her with a crime because it's a crime. That is listed in the 573 statute, right? So the stealing of the power by the ATC is the sending of these agents in to entrap the girls into showing something that they shouldn't, and then they show it, and what do? They come back and blame the owner of the bar for the girl showing her nipple, which is a criminal offense, and they say, you are engaged in showing, in criminal activity on your location. We're going to steal your license. But as the owner of the facility, you don't get to have a trial. A jury trial is not available. This is an administrative action. There's not even any evidence that needs to be put out except the statement of the person going to solicit these sorts of violations. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a requirement. I'm saying that there is not any program that gives the authority to ATC to do this, okay, to go and investigate. Could a highway patrolman come in and charge a girl with something, and perhaps there are those that actually do affect that is a crime that affects the club owner? That is Probably true. I've looked at some of the stuff, and there could be a criminal violation for the failure, perhaps, to supervise or something like that. I don't think so, because it's all administrative. It's more, they have a pretty big stick as the ATC, and if they can collude and make this 573 statute their own, which was never done by the legislature. The power was never given by the legislature to ATC to even investigate anything like this. And what they've done, they created a document. These guys, the ATC created a document, and we got plenty of copies of it. And the document says they have relabeled themselves as a police department. They have investigative things. So these investigators, these clowns that are going in and sucking these girls into doing dances and checking to see if they can get them to show a nipple, or maybe they can show them the vagina or something like that. And that I'm not saying that hasn't happened on the planet, but these guys go in and encourage the girls to do it, and then they turn this stuff in. And charge people to not get a license. It's entrapment. That's all there is to it. And so they, well, I hate to laugh about this because it's not funny. This is bullshit, right? This is crap all the way around. But if you don't understand it, you don't understand why the bureaucracy is so crap around here. And they just steal power. That's what they do. It belong to them, but they steal it anyway. And now they've done it with the support of the Attorney General's office. Helps them steal it. Says, oh, gee, here's a new law we were completely unaware of in 2010, and we haven't checked to see who can enforce it, and it's outside of yours. But I say, hey, let's create a new circular. Let's create a circular. We send it out. That tells everybody what's going on, right? Let's do that. And so they send that out. They create the service. They continue with the collusion, and this is how they regulate or destroy businesses, okay? Just like Sam Phillips destroyed me as a personal vendetta, personal attack, and personally held it for 18 months when he could have done an investigation in a couple of weeks, and then held it for 26 months and submitted an identical thing to the one he did in the year and a half. It was the same. And the Supreme Court says no and no again, with no explanation, no development of the law, no warning to another lawyer. So what's the warning to other lawyers? Seriously, if there's no case law, no interpretation of the rule by the Supreme Court, just a one-word judgment for lawyers. One word, nope. And the Supreme Court of the United States upholds that and says, well, it's okay to not have a reason for a lawyer, but you'd never get away with it with an accountant. You'd never get away with a real estate broker. But if it's a lawyer, that's fine. Because why? The state needs a way to screw lawyers, because lawyers know stuff. Lawyers know things, and lawyers might do things that we don't like sue the state, like do other things. And if they're not connected, screw them. If they're connected, they'll prove they're connected, and nothing will happen to them anyway, because that's how it works. Well, destroying a person personally is almost the same as destroying a business or a corporation. And it's not just strip clubs, by the way. I know I'm talking about this one particular case, but it's everywhere, because they have changed documents. They've created a definition they don't have the power to create. And remember, after Loper Bright overturning the Chevron doctrine, and after the codification of this in 536.140 in Missouri, that says you have to do it de novo, and the court does the interpretation, not the agency. After all that, it's pretty clear to me that they are going. Well, they should. The court should, and either way, it'll be appealed anyway. This is a decision that hasn't come out yet. I plan to look on CaseNet to see if anything happened yesterday, and I haven't done that yet. And I'm typing it in even now, but I'm the slowest and worst typist on the planet. And so I like to speak into my phone or microphone apparatus so that I can, because I don't type very well, it's a nonsense. And so let's see here. We are checking even now to see if anything has happened. Parties and attorneys, docket entries. Nope, still waiting. So we're waiting on a judgment in that case, what the judge will do. And I will share that with you here when we see it. And I will keep you posted on where we're going, because we are the very it's not me, but I'm involved as kind of a researcher in this. And we are waiting for this judgment. I believe we are the first to engage in this statutory question for 536.140 in Missouri. And I'm extremely interested to see what the judge will do. And I think he should. I think it's pretty clear that this is bureaucratic overreach, and that this is exactly the type of case that the U.S. Supreme Court was attacking in Loper Bright, and that the legislature in the state of Missouri was attacking in Missouri. And they put it also in Missouri, de novo review by the court of anything. So we have asked the court to interpret what I have just told you all about, de novo review, and interpretation doesn't go to the bureaucrat. It goes to the court. And the court is instructed to make a decision by the legislature that protects individual liberties and has kind of a leaning against overreach by, bureaucrats. And so I believe, well, either way, so they're going to appeal it because they like the control that they have right now. So if they lose, if the ATC doesn't win, then they'll appeal it. Well, the same's going to happen if the other guy, if Jax loses or Club GQ loses, it'll be appealed because this is an important issue. And so the judge is going to be careful with what he does and how he rules. And but I believe it's pretty self-explanatory. I've gone through it for you, and hopefully everybody understands what happened. But after Loper Bright and after 536.140, I don't think the court's got a choice. I think they have to get rid of the, administrative, the bureaucratic decision. The lifetime administrator should be questioned. These are the people that we question. These are the people that should be questioned. These are the people that need to, like the legislature said, need to err on the side of individual liberty and, not government overreach. And to the bureaucrats out there, I know you exist. It's I don't hate you, I just think that you have a tendency to take things that don't belong to you, and namely power. The power that you get is derived from the legislature. That's where you get your power. Now, if you narrow that down to a city, the power is given to the water guy by either the water board or a board of aldermen or something like that. But the law comes from those people. It's a similar thing locally. So the board or whoever's there will create the rule. There's a senior person, maybe a mayor, maybe a senior commissioner, presiding commissioner, maybe somebody like that who stamps it, signs it. Now it's law. That law is carried out. The provisions of that law are carried out by the water dude. Okay? So that's where the water dude derives his authority. Now, he's ignored mostly after that, and I hate to pick on the water dude, but it's the easiest example. And if the water dude chooses to not give you a license, Jesus, you're in the same boat, right? You're in the same boat. But administrative overreach is rampant all over the place, and you take more power. Why? Because people love it. Power is a good thing. People like having power. And if they have power, Jesus, what they want is more power. That's it, and more power to you. Just follow the frickin' law, and you won't have assholes like me coming after you for not following the law. If, for example, the statute of the state of Missouri, let's say the legislature in the state of Missouri said in 573 the 573 statutes related to sexually oriented businesses, cabarets, whatever, list them. We now allow ATC to enforce, or if ATC was turned into a police department, they think they have been because they have investigative documents that on the top of it says Alcohol Tobacco Control Police Department. Now they deny they exist, but we have 6 of them at least, and we've asked for more. We've asked for ever more, and I'm going to leave you with that today because this letter that they sent us. So we were asking about that stuff. Why do you identify yourself as a police department? Blah blah blah, and asking for some further information. By the way, Trump has labeled Ukraine envoy an idiot for backing Zelensky, Keith Kellogg. I tell you what, how do you not love Trump? The U.S. has frozen child care funding to all states. Denmark is standing firm against Trump's plan for Greenland. Elon Musk says America's toast if the radical left wins. Fyodor Lukhanov says the West has gambled on Russia's defeat and has trapped itself instead. I wanted to share some of those with you because they're very interesting articles, but we're not going to get today because we're still staying local. Okay? And, by the way, the New York City mayor swore in on the Quran. To bring a new era. He asked for the Quran instead. I'm trying to decide how I feel about that. I don't know yet. And I have mixed feelings, even right off the bat. But perhaps I'll come up with something entertaining on that. Zelensky has made the top spy chief from the investigative committee his chief of staff. And so that is what the news has been. But I wanted to share with you, where in the hell is it? Let us have a look, shall we? We shall. But it'll take me a minute to find it. I think I have it somewhere in here. The latest letter from these people, you won't believe. This is unbelievable. Well, it's par for the course. Let's put it at that. Oops, I've gone too far. Where are we? Sorry to take so long to find this. I should have had it pulled up already. But this is a comical letter that I promised to share yesterday. And let's see where it is. Okay, that's the one we received on 12/23. Let's see. Oh, there were 2 we received on 12/23. Where's the other one? We have to find it because this is so damn comical. Let's see here. Come on, where are you? I'm having troubles here, and I'm getting depressed over it because this letter was such a joke. I'm gonna look for it. Maybe I'll find it better in my email. I don't know. Anyway, I really apologize for not having it readily pulled up, but I've ranted quite a bit today, and perhaps it's something that, let's see, was it this one? Nope. We have gotten so many responses from them. It's freaking unbelievable what they have said, and I think this is it. Yeah. This is comical, what they are telling us. $156 paid. We need the other one, and how much this is going to pay. And I want to share this with you almost in its entirety. Okay. This is a sunshine response. So the request was to get some documents, and the meat of it is, so this is dated December the 23rd to Jax, which owns Club GQ. And we received your letters, lists all these licensing letters. Since August, the division has provided a bunch of documents. To date, here's the meat of it. To date, more than 3,600 pages of records have been provided to you in fulfillment of your August 5th, September 4th, September 6th, October 3rd requests. By the way, paid nearly $6,000 to get these 3,600 pages and paid fees that they are not allowed to charge, by the way. They're charging legal fees to research this, and that is not allowed. It's very clear in the latest ruling that they're not allowed to do this, and they are not following the law. So our communication with you following regarding those requests consistently include clear estimates of dates that things would be made available to you. I move forward. I'm gonna parse this and read just the important sentences. We wholeheartedly believe our team's extraordinary efforts to refill your request demonstrates the agency's respect for Missouri's policy favoring open conduct of public business and your ability to access the same. Despite our good faith, it is plain from increasingly hostile, argumentative tone of your communications and broad, burdensome nature of your demands, particularly those made, and list a bunch of dates, that your invocation of Missouri Sunshine Law is intended not as a tool to examine meetings, but as a weapon to harass the division, right? And then they go forward. Nevertheless, we are committed to providing your request. Ready? And we're providing an estimate below, calculated, assuming as we must at this time, that the requests are completed using currently available agency resources. Okay? And here it is. Remaining records encompassed by requests that were made in September 6th and October 3rd. For the dates of January 1, 2015 to October 3, 2025, they requested communications policy or regulatory decisions regarding swimming bars at the lake. It says, with respect to these records, as indicated to you in November 27 response, there were several topics, several words that we wanted to investigate. Lewd, sexually oriented business, Chapter 311, Chapter 573, industry circular, policy memo, gentlemen's quarters, jacks, strip, adult, nude, and a bunch of other terms, right? Said this list resulted in, this is comical right here, right? This list resulted in the retrieval of 691,463 email files. We conservatively estimate, this is funny, the cost associated with fulfillment of this portion of these records is $368,000, $783.77. And this is, they calculated this saying it's $32 an hour for a secretary to look at it. And it's 11,528 hours of review plus a flash drive of $3.61 for a total sum of $368,783.77. The earliest we estimate these records are available for you to review is 44 years, 3 months, and 26 days from our receipt of your payment. So give us $368,000, basically $369,000. We're going to round up a little bit. What difference does it make? $369,000 and give us 44 years, and we will comply. So obviously, they have no ability to search any of this, anything out there. But apparently they do, because they immediately came up with how many pages did they say? 600,000 pages or something like that they came up with that said that is there. Now, I bring that up because it's just completely stupid and asinine. Okay, how it should be would be that somebody would call and be collegial, be, I don't know what, cooperative, and say, if you say this isn't a bullshit letter, you're a bureaucrat. You're somebody who loves this type of thing and loves to antagonize people and come after them and entrap them by sending officers in. You're one of those, okay? Or you're extremely religious and can't leave other people live and let live. You can't leave other people alone. You got to enforce your beliefs upon others. That's what you got to do. And frankly, I believe that's what's happening here. I'm a middle of the roader. I'm neither for nor against strip clubs or whatever they do. I don't give a crap, but if people are there, and I'm not saying I haven't gone to them. I have. But it's if you want to tear them down, why? What harm is it doing to you? I mean, seriously, what for a place that's been around for 40-something years and you're trying to destroy it? Why? That's the main answer. And it's because you want to steal power that's not yours. So every letter that's been received from these people has been a condescending sort of rant by them that, oh, geez, it's going to take us, we have to work. They don't want to work. This letter that they sent is not a realistic discussion of anything. What it is announcing their power and announcing their deterrence. That is what they were doing. So I forgot that today is Friday and I have to end early. I appreciate you all listening to me. I am Samuel Trapp. This is International Flavor. We are going to continue with this letter because it's freaking comical. And I ranted way too long today on one of my rants. Took too long. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm going to put on a couple of Christmas songs just because that's what I like. And we shall have some Christmas. I'm going to put 2 or 3 in there just because I like them. And our oncoming host, who has a great show, can go from there. Sorry to overrun today. I meant to be done by 8:45. But anyway, this is International Flavor. I am Samuel Trapp. I'm coming to you live from the Lake Ozark Real Estate of the Art Studio. I do so every day from 7:30 to 9 o'clock, except on Fridays when I'm supposed to be gone by 8:45. And I totally cocked that up today. So join us every morning live at damradio.com and listen to me later at internationalflavor.com. Hope to see you Monday morning. Have a nice day.